Last time on Shoot Me in the Fucking Face.
Do you think you're gonna watch that Wonder Woman movie?
Yes. Yeah, like the period films
Yeah.
we like.
She seems like a half-decent actress. I think they hired her more because she's hot.
What a misogynist.
You said it first.
I'm trying to frame it on you.
She is hot though.
And now, the conclusion.
Cheers.
Cheers, baby. Cheers to merchandise that nobody buys.
I couldn't keep up with you. Speaking of merchandise.
Oh yeah, this is my show, bitch. Hey kids, do you love it when your favorite YouTuber shills? Armoured Media merchandise now available. I only have 2 designs on the site right now, but I'm actually openly looking for artists to commission for more designs. So if you have any great ideas or you think that you're right for me, send me a Twitter tweet or email my website or subscribe to my Instagram and just let me know. Let me know what you got, and if I like your stuff, then I'll commission you for one of my designs. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Night at the Movies. My name is Gregory, this is June, and tonight we watched Wonder Woman.
What is this place? Who are you people?
We are the bridge to a greater understanding.
Right.
Be careful of mankind, Diana.
Wonder Woman is part of the DC Extended Universe. It's a prequel to Batman v Superman, and part of a line of confusing movies by DC designed to perhaps even redefine cinema. After the terrible flop Suicide Squad, which made a fuck ton of money and they're definitely making a sequel too, what direction is DC headed after Wonder Woman? June, what did you think of Wonder Woman?
I liked it.
Liked it.
This was probably the first DC movie I enjoyed since the Dark Knight series.
I was actually really hyped going into this movie. I can't remember being more hyped for a DC movie since like The Dark Knight Rises came out.
Yep.
Since I was a kid, I've always been a big fan of the big 3, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. I mean, she had a few years of some sort of television show that kept bumping around from network to network, and every time she changed network, her underwear would change shape depending on what they considered family friendly on each channel. Linda Carter. She was a spectacular Wonder Woman. And when they announced Gal Gadot for Wonder Woman originally, I was a little hesitant. She's originally like a Miss Universe model, but she is a big girl. She's got lots of...
Strong.
She looks strong. She plays the role amazing.
She was amazing as Wonder Woman. I thought she did really good. She was a likable character, judging from Batman vs. Superman. Judging by that, I was a little hesitant about her character. I thought she was a little too like, I am Wonder Woman. Mm-hmm. But like this movie, she actually was kind of like quirky in like a fun way, and like she was sweet and like brave.
My favorite part about her was, like you said, she's like cheerful, she's happy. When she smiles, like you feel like happiness emanating from her.
It's like secondhand happiness.
Yeah, like it's contagious. She's a beautiful person, like I mean on the inside, and she lets that shine out through the character.
It's like you really get the feeling that she is like just this goddess, this Amazon goddess of love, and like cares for everybody, and it was just really beautiful, very beautiful woman too. Jesus Christ, she's like, no, she's very, her character was really good.
Whoever you are in more danger than you think.
Steve Trevor.
Yeah, the 2 first names.
Yeah, so, I mean, Steve Trevor, he kind of is like a Steve Rogers type. He's an all-American, even though he's British intelligence. He's kind of represents like the ideal
Patriot.
the ideal like wanting to end the war, not wanting to fight the war kind of person, making all the right choices and sacrifices and stuff. It almost is representative in the fact that she's got a shield like Captain America, but it's almost like a role reversal of Captain America. Instead of Captain America getting the powers, his girlfriend gets the powers, and then he has to take her to the war and show her where the war is. At the same time though, even though Wonder Woman now isn't really like a patriotic character, secondhand kind of like patriotic feeling that you still get from like Captain America. Like, I'm not an American, but I get like this feeling from Captain America, like I want to live up to those ideals too. It's not about patriotism, it's about
Like being a hero.
yeah, it's about being a hero and like buying into this like set of ideals of what is right and wrong. Kind of like the Boy Scout kind of mentality. So like she's kind of the Boy Scout too.
She's like the Girl Scouts. Like the brownies.
Chris Pine was saying something about what man will do it. And she's like, I'm the man that'll do it. It was a great line. I liked that.
Secretary Woman was really fun.
Secretary was a good comic relief.
She was just like, oh, well, we'll show you these dresses, sweetie. Like, just like really cute, quirky character. The chemistry between her and Wonder Woman, I think, was funny because Wonder Woman like was confused and very serious about the world, and she's just like cheery and like goofy.
I like the crew. Steve Trevor's crew.
Yeah, these like kind of misfits.
Yeah, he goes
all
around
together.
and he recruits his old buddies to come fight at the front line with him, which I guess is a thing that you could have just done. Just get a crew together and just go to the front lines. You walk into the trenches and people be like, "Hey, you're back!" Oh. It's like an ethnically diverse, like quirky team of very distinct characters with very different backgrounds. You get this idea that like they'd have a lot of fun, and if you put them together, there'd be this great dynamic. But like, they barely do anything in the movie. They're not in enough of the movie.
Yeah.
If this movie was about them and how they found Wonder Woman and then started fighting with her, that'd be an awesome movie.
They're just thrown in.
They're not fleshed out. We don't get enough time with them. It's almost like the crew didn't even need to exist.
They were pretty funny.
It was a cock tease because they were really interesting and they just did nothing with them except arbitrarily like tell backstories about why I'm in this fight and why it's important for me.
And that one guy was like, I wanted to be an actor, but I'm the wrong color.
And it's true.
Yeah.
It was true.
No, yeah, that's the thing about this whole movie. At the time period, all these things weren't cringy. It was just like, yeah, back in the day, that was the thing.
The Amazons were interesting too. The black women were noticeably stronger than the white ones. They were like tanks. The women were like hitting them with all their strength. They were all immortals. And they've been training for thousands upon thousands of years, and they don't have super strength or super agility, but it's just that they've been doing it for so long that they're like super expert, triple black belt level of expertise at fighting.
I love in the beginning when we're watching it and all like the women are fighting, you just lean over to me and I was like, I know what he's gonna say. This movie is hot. I was like,
yeah, it starts off really hot with all the Amazons training in their tight little armor. I'm sorry, it was just fun. It woke up the 15-year-old in me.
it was cute.
It was like genuinely impressive, the feats they were doing. Like, I used to horseback ride, so I know what goes into some of these horseback tricks. And they were doing like leaning off the side of the horse and doing archery, and well, they did add CGI and stuff, but these women were actually doing these things on screen.
Yeah,
it was
crazy.
impressive.
Oh. Can I?
Yeah.
The evil chemist doctor.
Yeah, I knew you were going to mention her.
Such a cool character.
Yeah.
Part of her face was fake and made of like porcelain.
Dr. Poison is her name,
Yeah.
so she's known for making chemicals. So like the implication is that she burned her own face off with chemicals.
So she was really cool. She was kind of like this evil scientist character, and I loved like all the World War II era things, like the goggles and the brown helmets.
World War I era.
World War I, yeah. Steampunky sort of looking things that she was experimenting with. I thought that was really neat. We love like time era movies.
Oh
like
yeah, anything
period pieces.
Period pieces are great.
Mwah. The whole World War I era thing was really neat. All the trenches and all the different old weapons and everything.
Even making it a realistic period piece, they still managed to make it very stylized, especially the fighting scenes. They do these slow-mos, the Zack Snyder style slow-mos. I mean, it was done relatively tastefully, and they had these like neat color effects, and yeah, I was happy to see that a nice meld between being a little bit stylized and being a genuine period piece.
It was basically a war movie plus Wonder Woman.
Right. It is a war movie, yes, but I have a little problem with it, and that was that there was a lot of ancient Greek mythos plus a lot of showing Wonder Woman growing up on the island. I understand that you have to have that in a Wonder Woman origin movie, but it took too long to get from Wonder Woman grew up on the island to Wonder Woman's fighting in the war, which is, I think, part of the reason why they didn't get to flesh out the ragtag crew of fighters, because it took too long to get to the part where they actually did anything.
Yeah.
So then when they actually do something, it's like the last half of the first act and the first half of the last act. And then the rest of the time they're kind of in the background, sort of running around in the dark, and you're not even really sure what they're doing or if they're having any effect, other than they got Chris Pine's character on the plane. My energy was still up from going into Guardians of the Galaxy to going into Wonder Woman, and I was like hoping like, hey, this is gonna be a good summer for movies, we got good energy going in. One thing that I had a problem with Guardians of the Galaxy 2 was that going into the second act, there wasn't enough of a lull. There was just too many jokes, and I was starting to get tired, and I just needed them to stop telling jokes. Like there was times when it was completely inappropriate, like when Nebula was trying to get a ship, and one of the raiders was like, "What are you gonna do?" And she's like, "I'm gonna destroy the universe." And he's like, "I thought you were gonna get like a pretty hat." Like, just don't. Give us something serious for a minute. Wonder Woman does that. They give you that lull, but I felt like it was just too low. I was just fucking bored the whole time we were in London.
Well, that's DC though. DC's darker and grittier and slow and real.
It was generally like monochrome, very gray and dark and drab.
Gray brown. Well, like the difference between their world and like the little Goddess Bubble Island.
The Goddess Bubble
really
Island
cool.
was beautiful. It looked like it was a Mediterranean island. Great, like white rocks and bright green trees and bright blue water and bright blue sky. Gorgeous. And then when you get into the real world, it's
like gray,
it's great.
brown,
And that's
ugly.
the point. It's supposed to look boring because it's disgusting man's world. There's like a little bit of fun with a bar fight scene, and a little bit of fun with an alley fight, and then a little bit of fun where she's trying to get the men to listen to her at the government building, and the men won't listen to her, and then the men listen to her. That all makes sense again, because it's a period piece. It wasn't like hammering it home like feminism. Actually, that's always what Wonder Woman's been about too, is her origin story. She always comes and she's a god walking among men, and the men don't know, and they're like, look at this woman over here, and it's like, she's not just a woman, she's Wonder Woman. And like, that's the juxtaposition of it, so it only makes sense in that context.
Yeah, like the woman power stuff, it wasn't crazy. Yeah, like you said, it made sense. Like if this movie was set in modern time and she walked into a building and the men were like, "Get this woman out of here," I'd be like, okay, that's ham-fisted. That doesn't even happen nowadays. But you know, World War I was different. They were still trying to get the vote, remember?
Women's suffering.
It's one of your favorite things. Okay, I'm not putting that on. I'm not. Like, I'm in charge of the editing.
You're in charge of the
Great.
editing, baby.
It's gonna go in there.
It's not
isn't
going
it?
in, don't worry.
Oh.
You're editing this. Alamo Drafthouse Cinema. They're a chain of cinemas. Obviously started in Texas, but they have one in New York City. And including the one in New York City, they were doing this women-only screening for Wonder Woman. You know what they're doing. They're fishing for
outrage.
controversy.
They saw what happened with Ghostbusters and they were like,
Right. And the thing is, it worked because they're women-only showings in at least the two branches of the chain that I followed sold out immediately, and they both decided to do second screenings of women only. They're doing it for charity. So, I mean, you can't really like complain like, oh, they excluded men. And, honey, just have fun at your little tea party. Just go ahead. Like, it's not hurting anybody. And you know what they're trying to do is get people to
Outrage.
freak out about it. And it worked. Do you know Mark Dice? I talk about Mark Dice all the time with June. He's like an Alex Jones type, this conspiracy theory nut. He made like 20 tweets that day about it.
I know.
Sometimes he tweeted the same thing 3 times. Oh, what about people who don't identify as women? And oh, you're catering to the mentally ill left. I can't believe this.
Oh, that was funny.
Allowing trannies in. And Alamo just said, it's women only, but hey, we'll let anybody that identifies as a woman in.
That'd be hilarious. Though,
Basically,
if
they're
went.
just saying anybody can come in if
Yeah.
you say you're a woman. That's,
Yeah.
They're not excluding anybody.
See, my problem with it wasn't that it's women only, because women always have these things like, oh, it's ladies' night, like drinks, like 50% off drinks, ladies' night, like it's stupid shit, it's cheesy, whatever. But it's just the double standard that bothers me. It's like, if there was a men's only thing, Jesus, that would be like, there'd be screeching people everywhere, all over the internet. It would be like, oh, you're excluding women, I don't know, it's the double standard that I was just like annoyed at.
These are not the kinds of things we should be fighting about anyways. The thing about this that actually kind of concerned me was I thought it was an indication of what the movie would be like. I thought that it would have like feminist themes in it.
too.
And even though it did like a little bit, it wasn't at all a
I was
feminist.
scared. I
It
was
wasn't
like,
at all a
"Please
feminist
do
theme.
not."
Okay, so Wonder Woman's whole thing is that she's not like a third wave feminist. What happened was the Amazons, they separated themselves from man's world. Even when like the Justice League came to the island and like saved the Amazons from death, they were kicked off the island, and Wonder Woman scolded the Amazons and said, this isn't right. These men are good men. They saved you. We should be participating in man's world. She's like the exact opposite of a third wave feminist.
No, she's not. She's just a strong woman.
So we're gonna do spoilers now, so skip ahead to this time frame. If you don't want to hear any of the spoilers, so I thought I was gonna have to do this whole thing about that, because I know in Batman v Superman she said she turned her back on mankind 100 years ago. I thought that meant that she like basically did what the Amazons always do, but she doesn't at all, because at the end of this movie, spoiler alert, she just stays in Paris.
Wonder Woman thinks that the god of war, Ares, has come to this World War I era and is making the war happen. And so it's this general guy, that's who she thinks the god is. And so she wants to defeat the god.
And we as the audience are led to believe that it's reasonable to assume that he is Ares, because he is very much in charge. He's not ranked above any of the people that are in charge of the war, yet he seems to be in control of them in some way.
He seems to just like get high on the idea of war.
Plus
so you're
he's
just like,
super, super over the top villainous, like killing his own men.
So we're all kind of just like, that's him, but turns out it's not. And it's this old British guy. I thought it was gonna be Dr. Poison Lady. Remember, we both thought that.
No, I said it's not him.
I thought it was gonna be Poison Lady. Cause she looks like a villain.
That would have been a good twist if Ares turned out to have been taking a female form that whole time. That would have been like spectacular. Like
It would have been a girl fight at the end.
yeah, and then it would have also been like a legitimate like, oh, you didn't think it could be a woman, did you?
But it is. Hey, women are evil too.
But then it turns it's not just some British guy, it's Steve Trevor's direct superior, the guy that told him not to go on the mission.
Which was awkward. And I know you felt it too. He did not look like a villain.
No,
at all.
not only was it awkward, it actually at one point
We laughed.
made me laugh out loud. And I was the only one in the theater laughing.
He was laughing
It was
belly
so
laughing.
awkward because there was barely any sound on the screen and I'm belly laughing. He looks like a turn of the century British guy with a mustache and the bald head and everything. And then they show like a part of like the Greek history that they showed at the beginning. But in the beginning they showed it like a cartoon, but this time they showed it actually him. And he still has the stupid early 19th century mustache and it's so fucking funny.
It looks so bad.
Could they not have given him a beard?
Like a beard, like a big, like Viking type
Oh my
beard.
god! Or like the curly, like
Long
braided
hair or
beard.
something.
Make him look more
Something.
Greek, and instead he just looks like a turn of the century British man with wearing
Like-
Greek armor.
And that's when I was like, I'm watching a Zack Snyder film, aren't I? Like,
even though he doesn't direct them all, he's in charge of the continuity of the series. That's why his name is always in the story by Zack Snyder.
and then when him and her are fighting at that last scene, it's still really awkward. He's like still the old guy, but then the helmet comes with the horns and everything. I'm like, there we
Yeah.
go. You even said out loud, you were like, there we go. Now he looks like
Cover up the
a villain.
embarrassment, make it look like it's supposed to look
Yeah.
like a comic book villain versus a comic book hero.
Some random ass like old guy and a god. It was just like, oh, I want to add one more thing. If you can edit this back.
No. Just add your thing.
Okay, it would have been cool if it turns out Dr. Poison was the villain, because Wonder Woman grew up with all women, right? So she thinks women are good, and her like, what is a man? Oh, they're evil and whatever, blah blah blah. And it turns out the woman is evil. That would have like fucked her up, right?
I liked Miss Poison in this movie. I was actually hoping, not necessarily that she'd be Ares, though I considered that possibility. I actually thought that what they were going to do with her, Diana would have trouble believing that she was evil. And like you said, and have this mind fuck where she has to realize, oh my God, it's not men that are evil, it's mankind that's evil. Or just that, whatever, like it's like this big gray thing, like there's no real evil, no real good. Everybody's kind of just this individual that's capable of either. And that what they would do is have this like turnaround where she had to almost have this conversation or something with her and then like turn Miss Poison around or, you know, something. But instead, the Miss Poison catharsis at the end, the climax of Miss Poison's storyline, it's not even an arc, is Miss Poison's like running for her life and she trips and stumbles and her rubber mask falls off and you see like her gory face. Wonder Woman's standing over top of her with a tank, about to fucking flatten her with the tank, and she's just like, should I or shouldn't I?
I know.
Should I or shouldn't I?
That was like,
And then all of a sudden she's just like, nah, I'm not
she
gonna.
literally just goes like this with the tank.
The Amazons is, their whole thing is they literally cut themselves off from men's world. Because that's how they perceive the world, as being men's world. They didn't do a man-woman theme at all. In fact, gender didn't factor in at all. With the tank scene, she was a woman, and it wasn't even, oh my God, women are evil too. It was like, my sisters were wrong. To Wonder Woman, that woman was just as much a man as any of the other man, because she was talking about mankind.
That would have did the whole feminism thing though.
Well, yeah. Okay, so obviously they didn't go that way because they didn't want to stir up controversy. There's nothing controversial in the movie at all, other than the fact that the bad guys are Germans, which I'm fine with because in World War I they were the bad guys, as it were. They literally called them the bad guys, and they were very treated like villains. Like even Wonder Woman completely like slaughtered platoons
I was
of them.
thinking about that too. I was like, these people aren't villains, they're just soldiers. And she's like,
It's like, I can't, like even War Horse, the movie, the Spielberg movie War Horse, they portrayed both the Germans and the British as like just people, and there's good ones and there's bad ones. There's evil ones and there's kind-hearted ones.
yeah, this one was just like,
This one
they're
is just
the
like,
enemy,
the
kill them.
Germans are evil, the non-Germans are the good guys. They are literally treated like villains.
It kind of reminds me, I don't know how, but it kind of reminds me of Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer, when the Confederate people were all vampires.
Oh yeah, that's actually a really good point. I mean, it wasn't until right at the end when Ares died and all the Germans were like,
We're good.
we're good now. And Wonder Woman just like was like, whatever, I'm not gonna fight you guys anymore because the war's over. The way that Wonder Woman described it is as if Ares is like literally controlling the Germans and making them evil. And she should have been like, I know you don't mean to be evil, I'm not gonna hurt you, but she's like slicing them in half with her sword.
I was thinking that too when that was happening. I was like, why is she just slaughtering? I guess it's just like, that's the enemy, kill them. So maybe in her mind, 'cause she's an Amazon, so she's like, oh, that is the enemy, like, just, you know.
Visually, what'd you think of the movie?
There were some parts where the CGI was so obvious and so obnoxious and so fake looking that it looked like a video game. Especially that final battle between the evil guy and her. It's just like, wow. First of all, they were like fast motion sometimes. It was like, what is happening? And then they looked so floppy too. Like when she fell, it was like.
Usually the last final fight scene in a movie is in the dark because it's the longest. So they have to stretch out their CGI budget into a longer fight scene. So it was super dark, but everything was overly shiny. The pavement was overly shiny. Ares' armor was overly shiny. I liked kind of like the stylized, like explosions behind her, like orange glow thing. But you're right, then there'd be this off-putting, she'd like suddenly like fast forward front and she'd be in this awkward position. Like, how did you get in that position? Like you said, she'd get knocked down and she'd flop like a cartoon character. I have a lot of trouble kind of blaming the CGI artists for that kind of problem. Usually that kind of thing falls under a budgetary issue. But it would have been nice if the final fight scene had the best CGI in it. It does feel like it just turns into a video game at the end. I liked what I saw. It was interesting enough. I wasn't bored, and it didn't really take me out of the movie too much, I guess, but I agree. I wish it was a little bit better. So if you might remember in our Batman So you might remember in our Batman v Superman review, we were making fun of Wonder Woman's music. So that guitar is ugly.
It's so distracting and obnoxious.
Clearly, they had already started production of Wonder Woman by the time Batman v Superman came out. That's why there was so much production stuff in it. They had already clearly committed to the guitar thing because it was in the Batman v Superman. They could have gone back and changed it, but they committed to it, and the whole score of the movie is based on that, and it's good. The only thing that sucks in the entire score is the guitar.
So bad.
There'd be this wicked scene happening, and you're into it, and she's fighting people, and there's neat slow-mos. It's really intense, and then all of a sudden, and
it just takes you out. We've been seeing movies all this year, and we kept seeing the Wonder Woman trailer, and we'd be so hyped. We'd be like, can't wait to see this movie. And then the title will come out, and it will be like, and both of us would be like, we'd actually like physically cringe in our seats.
Do you know that I was saying before, like Wonder Woman's, her start was she used to be like in an American bikini, and she was just like supposed to be this hot pinup girl. There was even like themes of bondage and stuff. That's why she has the lasso. She would tie guys up, and she would.
The lasso?
She would always get tied up too, like constantly like bound up. And the early artists and creators of Wonder Woman were really into bondage and stuff. That's obvious.
That's weird.
Back then when she was created, there were different rules for comics. Half of the comics you could find had sex and horror and gore, and they weren't about superheroes actually. Superheroes were one of the later creations of comics. It started with the Fantastic Four, and the Fantastic Four wasn't even like superheroes, it was just another ragtag crew that goes on adventures. And that's what comics were about back then, is adventures. Fantastic Four movies, why they never work is because they never make an adventure movie, they always make an origin movie. And the origin's like the most boring part of the Fantastic Four. The Fantastic Four got so popular that people started making more heroes. Some of them serious, or more serious, like Superman or Batman, and some of them more cartoony, like Wonder Woman. And later on, Wonder Woman now has the ability to fly in the comics. I don't know if she did in the movie. She wasn't able to fly before. She had this patented invisible jet. Have you ever heard of the invisible jet?
Oh yeah.
My theory on the invisible jet is it was just an excuse to get Wonder Woman to fly through the air with her legs spread open. The reason I was worried that feminism would be a theme in this movie was because feminists have been trying to usurp Wonder Woman for decades. They've wanted to get their grubby hands on her and turn her into this feminist icon forever. She's an incredible character, like even like sex appeal aside, she's a wicked character, like beautiful on the inside kind of character. She's always been about girl power and liberation and stuff. A lot of modern feminism is like trying to regress from that and turn it into like, they'd put her in a fucking burqa if they could. I swear to God. So thank you, DC. Thank you, Zack Snyder, for not turning her into like a modern feminist character. Thank you.
Those are words I never thought I'd
I know.
Thank you, Zack
Thank you, Zack Snyder. My God, I wish there was more alcohol. And I'm not saying that I want Wonder Woman to be a sex character, though I like that she is sexy, obviously.
No, they did it perfectly in this movie.
It's tasteful because even though she is sexy, a sexy person.
It wasn't like fucking Harley Quinn.
There's no close-ups on her ass like Harley Quinn. There's no close-ups on her tits.
It was just natural.
It was very tasteful.
Natural sexiness.
With all the women on her island dressed like that, it's Greek armor she's wearing, and it just happens to be hot.
It's hot in the way that these are like just confident, cool, like hot-looking, just women.
Yeah, and can I actually point out that this armor that she wears is probably the least revealing Wonder Woman armor I've ever seen. You don't see her cleavage at all. You don't see her shape or anything. There's a skirt, and it's easily the hottest.
Yes, I
easily
agree.
the hottest.
I am Diana of Themyscira, daughter of Hippolyta.
In the name of all that is good,
Your wrath upon this world
is over.
Who should see this movie?
Anyone who's just been disappointed in DC lately, I think it will kind of restore some hope in the franchise world of DC.
Go into this movie trying to not connect it to any of the other DC movies.
Yes.
Think of this as a standalone movie. As a standalone movie, it's not perfect. There's a lot of problems with it, but I'd say that it's solid enough. Considering it's the first ever real Wonder Woman movie, it was good. It was, I don't know if I'd use the word satisfying, but it was. It was good.
Our expectations were like medium. We were like, I hope it's good. We're excited, but then we're like, but the feminism thing, I'm scared.
I went into this movie expecting it to be a 6, and it was a 6.
Same with me. I rated a 6.
Literally anybody that's into superhero movies, DC or Marvel, this one, keep in mind it's a DC movie, so it has a lot of the same problems that the other DC movies have. But the overall direction is much more competent than Batman v Superman or even Man of Steel.
Oh my God.
Story's more consistent, and even though they do tie it into like the other movies, it doesn't feel like the corporate fat cats were like haranguing the story so that they had to fill certain criteria. It felt like the director had complete control of this movie the whole time.
I actually forgot that this was part of that whole thing. At the end when she reads Bruce's letter, I was like, oh, this is part of that thing? Why?
No, I actually chuckled when that armored truck pulled up in front of the Louvre and
Say that again?
Le Louvre?
What is that?
The Louvre, as the Americans call it. That's
the Louvre.
the Louvre. No, it's the high-end art museum in Paris, France. It's the one that has the Mona Lisa. Wonder Woman works at the Louvre. Anyways, yeah, I laughed when that armored truck pulled up and it had the Wayne Enterprises logo on it. I was like, they're tying it in. And then it goes back in time and then we never discuss it again.
Yeah.
Until right at the end when she's like, thanks for the picture.
Yep, that's not gonna work. Please put the sword down.
It doesn't go with the outfit.
At all.
How do you want to end it?
I know how to end it.
How do you want to end this?
Censor it.
No, don't.
That's it. That's how I'm gonna end it.
Don't. I swear to God. Okay, bye. I'm done.
So next up in the DC lineup is going to be the Justice League movie.
Oh.
It already the trailer looks fucking awful.
Oh. With Aquaman?
Yes.
How are they gonna make a movie out of that? Aquaman.
With rock music. Thank you for watching. If you like what you saw and you'd like to see more Armoured Media, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you absolutely love us, you can support us on Patreon, or if you have a passing affection for us, you can buy our merch. Links are in the description.